When I don't do anything to them, they die. When I do something to them, they die. When I put them in sunlight, they die. When I take them away from the sunlight, they die. They just are constantly dying on me. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about some plants that I have tried multiple times. Like, I didn't go one and done with these. I have tried them many times because typically they're plants that I want to be like good at and I want to have in my collection. And for some of these plants, I was able to learn from my mistakes and figure out how to get them to grow. And some of these others, I haven't. So that is what we're gonna be talking about today. This video is actually one picked out by my Good Growing fam over on Patreon. They selected it for the month of June. If anyone else is interested in having a say in what sort of content I make here, Patreon is the perfect place to do that. It is £3 or $4.50 a month, and you get everything for that price, which includes the monthly polls, bonus content videos, early access to my vlog channel videos, live chats, access to the Discord community server, and just generally a good time. So that is there if any of y'all want it. Of course, absolutely no pressure, but I just like to let you know if that's something that you want. It exists there. But otherwise, if you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanty content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanty journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos, and subscribe to my channel. If you're not new here, welcome back. I appreciate you returning. Let's get into these plants. So the first one I want to talk about is one I am genuinely really proud that I have been able to learn like more about and figured out how to get it to grow. It is the Peperomia. I have tried over, I guess, the last 5, maybe even 6 years of being a plant parent to be able to grow a Peperomia, and I have bought several, especially early on in my plant care journey. I've bought so many, and I don't think I was able to figure out the watering deal with them. And because they are semi-succulent, they do hold some water in their leaves, but I definitely find them to still be quite thirsty plants and surprisingly humidity loving. And it took this one here, my Peperomia Frost, which I actually grew from a single, maybe 2 leaf cutting. 2 tiny little measly leaves, and I was able to grow it into this gorgeous, fairly big, beautiful plant. I say big for Peperomia. They do kind of like to spread out, so I could probably put this in a bigger pot, seeing as there is easily maybe like 8 plants in this pot. There's just so many in there. It is so full and bushy, and I cannot believe I was able to grow this from a single cutting, because I had tried growing Peperomias from cuttings before as well and just did not have any success. Typically with my plant care, if I struggle with something in a cutting, I will try to buy a big version of the plant and learn how to take care of it first before figuring out how to propagate. But this one has been the exact opposite. I learned from the propagation, and that helped me figure out how to grow them in real plants. Since then, I have almost exclusively been able to grow Peperomia from propagation. The only one I think that I have that wasn't grown from propagation was my Sarcophylla, my big one, but I feel like that one's a little bit different anyway. It's got like even thicker leaves than these sort of Peperomia albovata, piccolo banda vibe things. These ones with the like sort of thinner leaves, they take surprisingly more water than you would think, and not very much light in my experience as well. I found that when this one was growing underneath the grow light, it was getting far too much light. I've had to pull it back out into a lower light situation, and since then it has become so much happier. It's grown so much bigger, and I have been able to grow it into maybe not full size, but getting there. Every time I get a new big leaf, like I thought it was big when it was giving me leaves like this size, and now look at that. They're so much bigger. It's just so exciting, and I am really glad that I've gotten better at Peperomia. It does take a long time for the plants to get to this point from propagation, so it's not a fast learning, but I feel like I have been able to get the learning there eventually. I'm proud of myself for this one, really. Really quick editing Emma here. I'm just working on this video and I'm trying to go through and find bits that I have on these plants from previously, but because a lot of them didn't necessarily go well the first few times around, I feel like I didn't show them very much. I definitely didn't put a lot of them over on Instagram, and so I'm doing my best, but for some of these I definitely don't have that much footage on ones that I've tried previously just because they didn't work out too well. One that I don't have anymore that I have tried so many times and I'm not sure that I will ever get again is the Philodendron Silver Sword. And it's such a shame because this plant is one that I thoroughly really like. I love the silvery leaves. They're a bit sparkly and shiny and fun, and I feel like when they do grow well, they look like they grow fantastically, but I have never been able to get one to grow well. I have tried from very, very tiny baby plants to big cuttings. I don't know. I think the only thing I haven't tried is buying myself a big plant to start with, but basically every single time I get a Philodendron Silver Sword, it starts struggling in one way or another. I have found that they are huge thrip magnets, more than pretty much any of my other philodendrons. I kind of want to say, I don't know if this is true, but I'm fairly certain that every single one of my Philodendron Silver Swords has gotten thrips, and that's been part of its downfall. I don't know how y'all keep them nice because they're really cool and I really wish I could keep them growing well, but it's just not one that works for me. And I know I have been kind of on and off with philodendrons lately anyways, and part of it could also be the growth pattern of it. I was never able to get them to grow like upsize to mature in leaf size, even when I would have like a bigger plant, one that might have been starting from a bigger cutting, like a top cutting or something. Even if I put it on a moss pole, which you would think would be the right thing for them, didn't size up or anything like that. Pretty much just got pests, and I either decided to throw it out or get rid of the pests and move it on just because it wasn't working for me. So I am quite sad that I don't have a Philodendron Silver Sword in my collection because I do think that they are really cool. And maybe it's another plant that I can try one day, or if I buy a big plant that might be an option, but as of right now I have no plans on trying again, which is kind of sad. It's always really sad for me when I feel like I've given up on a plant, and it is difficult because there have been plants similar to the Peperomia that I thought I would just never get a handle on it, and that would be that. But it's worked, so it's a difficult one. It's hard to admit defeat and not just want to try again and again and again until I maybe get it right. But the amount of money and time I've spent on Philodendron Silver Swords, I don't think it's worth it for me. And also, do I really need one when I've got like so many other plants? Probably not. So I don't think I'll get one anytime soon. This next one is one that was definitely on an old list of mine of plants that I would just never try again because I had so many struggles with it. Angel wing begonias. I have tried so many over the years and really struggled with them. I've tried this type of begonia before, and like while I was able to get it to root and flower, something happened in there. I think it potentially was a watering issue with that one and it died. I've had like the normal polka dot ones that you can get in like grocery stores. I've tried them from cuttings. I've tried buying full plants of them and genuinely really struggled to get them to stay alive until the begonia white ice. And with that one I got it as a fresh cut propagation, stuck it in water, which I found to work really well. I knew I could propagate begonias in water. I had done it before. I knew I could get them to root. Stuck it in water, put it in semi-hydro, with a self-watering, it was in my pond box for a really, really long time until it like kind of grew out like too big for the box. And then I put it in a bigger pot in semi-hydro in my cabinet, and now it has graduated the cabinet. And since semi-hydro, I feel like I have adequately been able to grow begonias. I have several now. Ooh, maybe like 7 or so of them. I have many begonias at this point, and almost all of them are cane begonias. I'm still working on my Rex begonia abilities and my rhizomaceous abilities, but all of the polka dot begonias, I feel like I've got it down now. And the answer was just semi-hydro, because I think they are thirstier than I originally thought they were. And with semi-hydro in a self-watering pot, they've got a water reservoir and they can drink as much as they want, and I think that they absolutely love it. This one specifically I grew from a cutting that I got that I divided in 3, and since I divided it, it has just like grown crazily, given it was already quite a mature, it was a mature plant at the time, and so I got a mature top cutting, which was probably quite helpful. But even bits that I divided off, the middle cuttings on it are doing really well and growing spectacularly, and it's just like the leaves, they just keep growing huge. It's doing so well, and I'm really glad that I've now figured that out and that I can have more. And I used to also think that the red backs of the leaves, like, they're cool, but something about it annoyed me. But ever since I've gotten them to work out, the backs don't annoy me as much. And they're just so cool. And I'm probably gonna have to do something else stake-wise soon, because it's fairly near the top of the stake and it's just doing so well. Maybe I could cut it again and put more into the bottom of the pot, because that could be cool. Fill it out. Also, this one's not in any particularly great space. It's in my kitchen window, which is west facing, but there's a tree blocking it, so it might get very occasional dappled sunlight, but for the most part, nothing. And it's still just growing incredibly. So semi-hydro for your begonias and you'll be fine. A philodendron that I have had success with, even though I've tried it multiple times, is the Florida Ghost. So I'm pretty sure I've had maybe 3 or 4 Florida Ghosts previously, before this one, that just all died, or just did not grow well, or didn't give me the ghost leaves, or just something about them wasn't working. I, again, have tried from baby plants, and I really struggled with this one from a baby plant. I just didn't really work for me. I had also gotten some from imports, which I think part of the issue might have been that they had come from imports, and it takes a while to get an imported plant to acclimate well, and even once after I thought I'd acclimated it, it still wasn't doing phenomenally and wasn't giving me bigger leaves. And then I got this cutting here, this big beautiful cutting, and that is kind of when the tables turned for me. But it was a top cutting of a fairly mature plant, one that was already putting out the very loby leaves, and genuinely I think that did a lot for me with it. And I finally got it to like start actually doing well and putting out these more ghostly leaves once I started putting it under a light that was on for many hours a day, and it seemed to really like that. Like previous to that, you can see I have some green leaves, and then post that I also have a bit of a green leaf when I was like kind of experimenting with light. But these 2 main ones here that are giving me the ghost vibes that I so desire, these ones came out under bright light, and same with this one, which I don't know if this one's going to fade to white or fade to green. It looks kind of like it's gonna fade to green, but we will see. It might not. But genuinely having them under quite a lot of constant light has been a game changer with them. And so I think potentially where I went wrong the first few times could have been the amount of light it was getting and it not getting enough. It also could have just been a smaller plant. I kind of Like, when I've tried plants multiple times and they haven't worked, I sometimes blame it on bad genes of a plant, and I know that can happen. But I feel bad because I'm just deflecting the blame onto something outside of myself, because I could never do wrong. Which is false. I definitely do wrong, but I almost stand by the fact that I think some of them had bad genes. Just like I think some of my pink princesses had bad genes, and that's why they didn't do well. I could be wrong about them as well. I don't know, but I do thoroughly love my Florida Ghost now, and I'm really glad I have it, and I couldn't get rid of it now. I just love it so much. It's so beautiful. Also, sorry if the sun is going in and out during this video. It's partly cloudy today, and as soon as the sun goes behind a cloud, it gets fairly dark. But we can get over it. Speaking of plants with genes that I think weren't the best, Alocasia Melo. I have struggled with the Alocasia Melo so much. I think this is my third. The first one I got from a corm, and it pretty much immediately was, I think it might have grown at 1 or 2 leaves and was just not having it. Did not like semi-hydro life, maybe didn't like the environment that I had it in. I'm not totally sure. The second one went yellow so quickly, and I have heard of other people's Alocasia Melos doing similar, and so that's why I think it might be gene related. I think quite early on in their sort of boom of popularity, when they were still quite expensive to get, people were getting, it was kind of like a first gen Melo where like the bugs weren't fixed, speaking in tech terms, and now I think I have a Gen 2 Melo that doesn't just like freak out all the time, and I think that has come out since they have become more available and lowered in price. That being said, mine isn't anything fancy. It's not doing like really great or really poorly. It just kind of is. Oh my goodness. This texture though, I love it so much. It's so cool. Anyways, mine's just doing fine. And I do have it in my IKEA cabinet, so in theory it would be getting a good environment. It's where most of my Alocasias are, and they tend to mostly be okay in there and not have any problems, but this one, it's just doing fine. So I don't think I've quite mastered it yet, but I'm doing the same things I would do with all of my other Alocasia, and they're doing fine. So maybe it just likes something a little bit different, maybe not, and I'm doing a bad job, or maybe not, and it still doesn't have the best of the genes. But I do really love it, and I am glad that I have been able to have one that's not immediately just like gone downhill on me. That's really good, and hopefully I can get it out of this 2-leaf situation soon, given it doesn't look like it has any new growth on it, so might be a while yet. Maybe I'll put it, I was gonna say in a brighter spot, but like I don't have that many actual brighter spots because my cabinet lights are on all day. I'll have to think about it because I also want to keep it in like quite a high humidity. So I don't know. I really love this one, and maybe one day it'll do well, but for now it's just gonna be a bit okay, and maybe 4th time's the charm, the one after this one. This next one, if you have been here any amount of time, maybe longer than a couple of months, you'll know this one. I cannot for the life of me take care of this plant, even though I've tried, I almost want to say like a dozen times. Spider plants. I cannot. And it's a difficult one for me because everyone says that they are so easy care, they don't do anything to them, and they're absolutely fine. When I don't do anything to them, they die. When I do something to them, they die. When I put them in sunlight, they die. When I take them away from the sunlight, they die. They just are constantly dying on me, and I've never, ever, ever, never, ever had a spider plant that has done well for me. I have tried so many times. I've tried them from propagation, I've tried them from full plants. Not a single time has it worked out. I have also found that they are somewhat pest prone. I've had them get thrips before, and they're really hard to deal with thrips because they get like down in those little crevices in the little bits, which is not ideal. But also every time that I've had one and it's not done well, I've said, oh yeah, this will be the last time, never gonna try them again. And then somebody else will like offer me a free cutting, or like some that's come off of their plant and their plant's doing amazingly, and like if I try this thing it'll do great. And so I try it again. Every single time it just leads to disappointment in me, and I dislike it. And so I think that spider plants are potentially one of the only ones that I think I will never try again. That being said, what if I just find a really good big one, or what if I move somewhere and it's better and they grow better there? I don't know. I don't want to say never, but I also really don't think so. And I have downright refused people at this point at swaps who know that I have tried multiple times or that are offering. I've just been like, no, you can have this plant for free. Take it. I don't need a swap. Anything but spider plants, please. Oh, I can't with spider plants anymore. It's just not gonna happen. And then the last one that I want to talk about, the jury is still out on, and I don't know if this one will actually survive or not. It is the variegated Alocasia Frydek. So I think this is my third one, because I've gotten a corm before in like a trade or a swap or something, and I'm pretty sure that corm just rotted, didn't work out. I've bought a baby plant of one last year and transferred that to semi-hydro. Lost all its leaves, did not. And then this one, which I'm not completely sure will work or not. This one I also got from a corm from Claire, and its first little ditty baby leaf had the tiniest little bits of green on it. But both of the new leaves since, nothing, no green, and it kind of makes me think that it's gonna be a no-go. I will keep trying it and see if I can get it to grow, because if I can, that'd be really cool, but I'm not sure. Also, I do know that all of Claire's corms that she's gotten from this plant have turned out all white, so it's obviously not just this one. But at the same time, I kind of don't think it's going to do anything. And I'm kind of really tempted to buy myself a big variegated Frydek. I think the reason I haven't yet is because they are still quite expensive. The baby plant one I got last year was £35 for a baby plant. So the big plant was, I think, maybe like 70 or 80. And I just can't justify spending that much on one plant most of the time. Very occasionally I'll think about it, but it just seems like a lot. Maybe I'll treat myself for my birthday. That could be a shout. But it's just not, it's not working, unfortunately. And I don't know, because I do have now 2 more variegated Alocasias. They're not Frydeks, so they might just have different genes and might do better, but they're not giving me all white leaves like this little Frydek is. And maybe I can get my fix that way. I don't know. It's a bit of a difficult one. I'm not sure, and I can't decide if I just want to bite the bullet and buy a big one, because I do think that they're so freaking gorgeous when they're big and beautiful and dappled. I love it. I love it so much. And like with the velvety leaves too. How can you not? But third time's the charm. Maybe the one after this will be the charm. Who knows? If there's even one after this. I could just decide I'm never gonna try them again. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, but that is it. Those are some plants that I have tried multiple times. I would definitely be curious to hear about your experiences with these plants. Any of them that I've struggled with, I would love to hear advice on if you find that they grow well for you. And also any plants that you find you've tried again and again and might still not be working, or that you have learned from, let us know down below in the comments and we can share that. And I feel like it's an interesting thing, because obviously everyone's home is different, everyone's plant care style is different, and so everyone's gonna have different plants that work really well for them or not. So I'm always curious to hear about others that people have tried in similar fashions to me. So that is it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to keep growing. Bye!